as a race, humans have come so far and developed so much that we've entirely eliminated our need to develop instincts and emotions that help us survive in hostile environments. And as a result, people find themselves purposefully inducing these emotions by means of media like terrifying movies or stressful games as a form of self-torture in order to feel more alive and real. Or at least that's my theory anyway as to why anyone listens to K-pop. Nowadays, no matter how amazing our technology has gotten, when horror games want to scare us, they can still only ever jump in our face visually and scream in our face audibly, which makes sound half of the entire experience. So when a game's soundtrack manages to be both harsh and scary and iconic and catchy, well, that's a form of horror in itself. Which is something I want to highlight in a list, because my god complex leads me into thinking that any of you actually care. Watch in awe as I try desperately not to sound pretentious but fail at every single fucking hurdle. Yeah, sure, if you desperately want to dive into semantics, the Fear games are technically military first-person shooters. And no endorsement by John fucking Carpenter, no less, is ever going to change that and finally get them the recognition they deserve, which quite frankly is more disgusting than whatever this is. And while the first-person shooting itself may kill brain cells faster than Paint Stripper, it's the time in between where the fear really shines through because it's a little bit scary. And Fear 2 is probably the scariest game in the series, because not only is there a creepy little girl following you around, she's also a creepy fully grown naked girl who's also a really powerful psychic rotting ghost that's trying to help you by screaming in your face every time the shooting stops. And if that synopsis didn't scream amazing soundtrack to you, then you're probably completely normal, to be honest. Unlike me, because I had to put at least one primarily ambient soundtrack on this list because I love ambient music, and if you don't, you're wrong, honestly. An ambient soundtrack that, thanks to all that gameplay that you're all way too smart for, constantly gets lost underneath all the gunfire, so maybe it wasn't the best idea for this genre, but neither is stretching talking about audio into a 10-minute video, so hey. When it's not being cold and screechy, it's being even colder and screechier, because what it lacks in range and variety, it makes up for in amount, because there's like 3.5 fucking hours worth of music in this game that you'll likely never hear, because God forbid you waste your intellect on something as mind-numbing as a first-person shooter. I bought and played BioShock originally because it was sold to me on the ability to murder children while extracting their nutrients, but little did I know I'd soon find that the game is actually pretty okay also. So okay in fact that the sheer concept alone is widely regarded as the video game industry's magnum opus of ideas and execution, even if that idea was stolen from a better game. Potential plagiarism suits and misplaced credit aside though, if you're rightfully thinking that they just copped out in the soundtrack department using underwater ambience and whale songs, then you're absolutely incorrect. Although they did still do that. Excluding the incredibly uncontent ID friendly Beyond the Sea, the soundtrack also includes the generally unfriendly sounds of a whining orchestral score that's somehow even whinier than my whine when I'm forced into another one of these pipe puzzles. And although the composer initially attempted to just recreate Beyond the Sea and other licensed songs from the 40s and 50s, he ended up instead fucking it up completely and creating something entirely new. Or rather old. New old. Because instead of something that sounded like it was from the 50s, it sounded like it was 50 years old, stale and gross like your grandmother's disgusting house, except you're locked in with her 2,000 meters under the sea where no one can hear you scream when she takes her dentures out and puts them on the dinner table where you're fucking eating. Noct is easily the hardest game I've ever had to describe, both because it's not finished yet and I still don't even fucking understand what it's supposed to be. And I likely never will, because the developers seem to have forgotten it exists along with literally everyone else. If I happened to be making a video on it though, I'd probably say something like, it's like Hotline Miami if all the colour and happiness contracted med-resistant childhood leukemia and died on its own birthday. Because what I am certain of though is how cripplingly depressing the game is, especially since it's an essentially brand new open world multiplayer game wherein I am the only player. So it's ironic then that the soundtrack reflects this like a fucking mirror, having been composed by an elite team of Edge consisting of World Clock and 9 Inch Nails' Robin Fink, who, like my parents, seem to have been employed solely to make me want to kill myself. It's so drony, sad and heavily filtered that it's exhausting to listen to, like I'm suffocating under the sheer weight of my character's loneliness. Which makes it perfect for any party or social get-together if you're like me and just want everyone to fuck off. For a game called Silent Hill, it sure fucking isn't, with not only some of the scariest music I've ever heard, but equally as great sound design that almost makes up for how much the dialogue makes me want to die.
I figured you'd show. Hold it right there.
The first game was an easy choice, because not only is it my favourite and not only am I entirely biased, but I find it has the best balance of deafening industrial smashing and calm eerie acoustic rhythms, which tells the player you're gonna die, you're definitely gonna die, but just right after this song, you're definitely gonna die. Which makes for a really fun time when you're way too young to be playing it and it's 4 hours past your bedtime. Maybe that's why I'm so well grounded and sane. Silent Hill nowadays is praised for its use of the PS1's limitations to make a scarier game, and I mean it definitely deserves it. I honestly don't think it would be the same experience if Harry's head was any less perfectly square, which is impressive, but it doesn't even hold a fucking candle to the achievement of making an album cover somehow even worse than the game's cover itself. Where's its award for that? Although I love ZombiU, it's my favourite Wii U game, which is why I'm playing it here on Steam, everyone else hates it, which means I have to as well. Regardless of everyone being wrong though, there's no case of mass hysteria, mass or hysterical enough to make me deny that the soundtrack has the most underappreciated collection and variety of songs I have ever heard in my life. But no, I'm still not paying $15 fucking for them. Sure, the game overall may be bland looking, like London, with level design that makes no coherent sense, like London, and has characters that make you wish were dead or dying, but hey, that's just London. And the music reflects London with this eerie, clinical sound that makes you feel like you're gonna catch an incurable disease just by looking at someone. But it combines it with this chaotic, punky twist that sounds like it's giving me a strong distaste for the establishment, but in reality it's just ripping off 28 Days Later. So it's a shame then that they used none of it in the marketing and instead opted for a fucking awful cover of a children's nursery rhyme. Yeah, I'm sure that's why no one bought it. Nope, it's because it was on the Wii U. As you've probably assumed, all links to all the songs featured in this video are available on thepiratebay.org, or alternatively in the description of this video if you care. What you should care about though are these really great videos that are slightly less the most rushed thing I've ever made than this video, which is probably the most rushed thing I've ever made. But at least now I can get back to normal, because all work and no play makes Jay clinically depressed, which is my new catchphrase.